Well, hello and welcome to today's ServiceNow educational workshop. I am Mike Roberts with the Integrated Tech Comms team here at CDW. And just a few housekeeping things, and I'll introduce today's speaker. I know that there's a lot of content he's going to be going through. And one tip, real quick, for the layout of the cameras and the presentation, if you hover over the pictures and the layout button pops up, you can check the part that says hide participants without video. And that'll clean your screen up just a little bit. So just a little friendly tip there. Today's session is being recorded. Everyone's going to receive a link to the on-demand version as soon as it's available. All your lines will remain muted, so please use the Q&A box, and we'll keep an eye on that as things go. Now, mind you, there is a chat box and a Q&A box, so be sure to use the Q&A box. That's a little easier to manage. And then also at the end, a survey is going to pop up. And we'd love it if you could take just less than a minute, provide us some helpful feedback so we can continue to make these even better. So with that, today's topic is the customer-centric management system. Best practices to follow, pitfalls to avoid. And our presenter is Fernando Castro, CDW's portfolio manager for customer and industry workflows. So Fernando comes to us with over a decade of experience in the ServiceNow platform. He's done implementations in almost every industry. He was also part of the first CSM implementations about 5 years ago, and for ServiceNow has become a sounding board for best practices, feedback, and innovation, working directly with the product teams in ServiceNow. So he's got a lot of teaching and writing under his belt as a UX, as a framework evangelist. And with that, Fernando, if you're ready, I'm going to let you take over.
Thank you, Mike. Can you guys hear me?
Got you loud and clear.
Perfect. Beautiful. All right. So yeah, let's get started. We have a lot of content, so we're gonna get going with the challenges on really customer service, right? I think the biggest portion that we try to look at when we're talking about customer service is really what does effort mean, right? And especially for customers. And by the way, a customer could be many types of personas, right? It could be a constituent, it could be a patient on healthcare, it could be a guest on a hotel, right? And even your own employees. So the gist of this is that I really like this quote from Matthew Dixon, which is, you need to give your customers fewer reasons to be disloyal, because that way they come back, right? Loyalty is all about that. And it is one of those things that there's some proof points behind them, right? Where we see that because of departmental internal data silos, we see 90% of contacted customer service being 7 or more times to address the same request, right? How many times have we experienced that, right? Where we have to call and call again because it is not being resolved. We feel as customers handed off, ping pong in a way, right? Across many different parts of the organization without any clear resolution path. The second part of this is that we see that customer needs are not addressed, right? We see that issues are not really looked at from the seriousness of what they are, and we're just trying to transactionally finish them. And then the third one is that even if we want to avoid that, they don't have the tools to help themselves. And this has obviously led us to do a lot of introspective, right? And understand that, this has an effect, right? Just $75 billion are lost because of poor CX. 32% of the customers will abandon a brand just because of a single bad experience. And 60% of those customers will switch because of 2 bad experiences. But on the flip side, we also see the benefits of this, right? We have a lot of data that shows that 69% of all customers say they will spend more with a company if they give me a good customer experience. 60% are willing to pay more just for that experience. And obviously, if you enjoy it, you will probably become an ambassador of that brand. So most companies look like this, right? We have a customer service team, we have an IT team, a back office, probably governance, right? If you're lucky, and a middle office team. They all have their own tools, again, their own data silos. They're normally resource intensive, right? When we see the channels, we see a high cost to develop and maintain. And when we have this notion that customer service or customer experience is only the intake channel, then we see an issue, right? And that issue is that we're not meeting expectations, right? Because customer support is disconnected from these other teams. So, you'll have your customer asking for assistance. And we see that service is reactive, it's not proactive, right? It's all around transactional requests. You have obviously the contact center agent talking with someone on the level two, their team lead, trying to resolve things. And customers are separated from the teams that can actually work on their requests and then get bottleneck with the contact center. Um, then, after navigating through all of these issues, right? The level ones, the agents, they start looking at how manual and disconnected processes are, right? Because now, Julie here, right? This person that we escalated this case to has to contact IT because this is affecting an internal system, and then IT will probably contact another person through a system of engagement, as you can see here, which is Teams. And then this other level three engineer might be talking with other people and looking at the same database, but different systems of action, and just truly trying to discover the visibility on how to resolve the customer issue. Some of them might even go and create an email so they can again tell to the back office person, the product manager, look, I need help. So it all goes back to the services agent. While governance and the middle office are not even engaged, right? The governance is still working out of SharePoint office, and the middle office, what they're looking at is just how the mess is unraveling, and they were never part of the system, right? So the ecosystem is not delivering value at the end of the day. There's no visibility in the status of the request. The agent is left holding the bag, and then obviously this is not just a bad experience for your customers, but also internally for your company. So innovation, it's an issue. The solution is pretty complex, but at the same time, it's easy to get started with, because we understand, we empathize this mix of frustration, right? Qualtrics data study that 80% of the B2B and B2C organizations are actually inexperienced at developing CX programs. So that is one of the culprits of all of this, right? And this is where we have found that there's certain strategies and certain things that we could do to make that change its perspective. So the first one is, instead of looking at the marketing funnel that we all saw from the academy, right? When we were in college, we're looking at, this is where your customers go through all the time. Instead of that, why don't we look at it as a highway, right? Where you do have your consideration, your evaluation, but once you purchase the service, that internal roundabout, if you will, it's a bigger picture, right? Um, it doesn't matter how much you invest in branding or digital marketing or anything like that if you're not thinking about what happens after I purchase, right? So the support experience, the loyalty experience on how can I stay here and I keep enjoying out of your products and services you're giving to me. And so it is also not, this is not referring also around perfection, right? That's not what we're driving for. What we're driving for is really a completely refined CX, customer experience, that is not end-to-end perfection, but is empathetic, right? And it has a common understanding on how to be better every day, every week, every month across telemetry, surveys, interviews, analytics. And that is when we really bring these, what we keep calling the whole organization, right? All the parts of the organization working together on a task-based digital workflow. It doesn't matter, if you're a bank, and an example of that, will be a credit card opening, a payment dispute, right? If you're a hotel, if you're in retail, if you're telecom, you're doing order management, if you're manufacturing, looking at inventory returns, or in insurance, doing claims and disputes coverage, all of that out of the box is solutions that we want to map out while keeping that complexity on the back, but yet allowing this to be a great customer experience. So, and bringing everyone onto the same team. Um, so that is that lack of orchestration and visibility is what doesn't allow that experience and resolution time. So we start all the way, right, from the root cause, trying to resolve that. And so from that perspective, we have seen that, combined with internal pressure to innovate and become competitive while still being profitable and complex, many companies are just implementing SaaS solutions and trying to fix as if or implement as if this was another ITSM tool, right? The reality with ServiceNow is that yes, it started on an ITSM many, many months ago when I started actually my journey in ServiceNow, but it has become something very, very different. So this is where we enter into the pitfalls. I always like to say that there's no secret potion to make CX work well with technology, but at least these 10 pitfalls that you're going to see are some of the best practices that we've learned in the past decade on implementing, consulting, and architecting all types of customer-centric solutions. So the first one is dear to my heart because I am a geek, and so I don't like listening to this, but it is the reality, right? Which is that technology is not the goal, but rather an enabler of our goals, right? It is recognizing and understanding that the customer should be at the center, not IT, not technology. Technology enables that, right? And also that our customers, their main goal is to get on with their lives as soon as their needs are met, right? Again, me as a technologist, I am always thinking, oh, maybe we can do this better and these buttons, and we're gonna do these features, and we're gonna make this pop up so that we can get them to do this, or this very cool IVR or this portal. And the reality is that per this UX law that you see over there, Jacob's law, is that users really want to get on with their lives as soon as possible. And for this, you don't need to have a dedicated CXO, right? A customer experience officer or a dedicated CX team. You can get there slowly by obviously looking at what is not only the latest top of the line server processors or the latest chat GPT AI version, right? But it's building a bridge that is simplifying that experience. And the same way as we invest in tailored experiences when you're generating leads, you're doing e-commerce, then it is the same as the same thing. Like if you go to Amazon.com, you don't know all the records that are happening and all the logistics that are happening to get that package the next day to your door, right? That is the issue when we expose idle records, incident change problem, all those things. And obviously there's exceptions if you're an MSP, but most of the times people don't care about that, right? Which takes us to the next pitfall, which is we tend to combine those systems of engagement, of record, and of action as if it has to be the same thing, or one cannot exist without the other one. So the culprit of this that we had done virtual separation, right, of our business units, of how finance works versus project management. They have their own tools, they have their own databases, and that is okay, right? Maybe they even have their own systems of engagement, how people contact them. We saw it on the other slide with all the messy mess happening. So you might want to keep some of your systems of engagement, right? So just as an example, your contact center is using Five9. We're not saying get rid of Five9, right? Or for example, you have a system of record like your ERP on Dynamics 365, right? We're not saying get rid of your ERP tomorrow or your CRM right now. What we're saying is we could bring all of the data, make it into reliable information, and put it within a single system of action that is integrating that and making it easy to map ways of working. So when we are cognizant of this, we are able to integrate information that moves a workflow across those other systems of record that is informing different parts of the enterprise and is allowing a simplified yet scalable approach, right, to get those external systems in and out while understanding that we have organizational silos, right? But again, those are virtual. They are transparent for our customers. So this allows for that to happen. Now, the third one is that in order for that system of action to be usable, it has to have an integrated source of truth. So no matter how many data sources your organization has, how complex they are, data needs to be translated into information. And so, like we keep saying here, if we have a landing pad where we have all this data that we're just talking on the Pitfall 2 coming in, but it's not challenged, it's not, why do we need to track this? What is this attribute used for, right? Because once you bring data, you have to manage it. And when this fails, either because lack of integration or updates, people distrust the system. So it is essential to have a common place to structure and relate data for everything you sell. It's a service, a subscription of services, an application, again, hotel, right? A retail store, a bank, a credit card, right? All of that is inventory. It's what I have installed, what I have sold for my customers. So thankfully, we have resolved this to something we call configuration management database, right? The CMDB. Most people, when they think CMDB, not only they think ServiceNow, but they also think IT. Thank goodness in this new way of looking things, the CMDB allows for all types of sources of truth to happen here and be integrated, right? To focus not only on the daily transactional cases, but also how we resolve above and beyond that first call, which really gives us using technology, again, giving us great information, not only just random data. And these are the things that we see, right? Normally we see a culture of frustration, lostness, and apathy when that is not when we don't believe all those parts of the organization are connected. None of these things are able to actually be resolved if you stay on IT service management system, because again, it's IT oriented. You want to look at your operations, right? You want to look at your business impact, and then you want to obviously bring these great fruits of this labor, of this transformation to your executives. The next one is we want to simplify before we automate. If it's a feature, if it's an attribute, it's a field, an email notification, or even a process. So most of the issues that we've seen when we have so much functionality is, oh, because it's out of the box, just leave it there. So that's the other pitfall. You need to disable what is not needed, because sometimes out of the box is too much, right? So it can get overwhelming quickly, and it's been proven through this UX law that it doesn't help anyone, right? We as humans, we have certain tendencies to remember and forget things. And a metaphor of that will be a new car, right? You take the plastic out, adjust your mirrors and seat, you could end up in a crash quickly, right? If you don't do that. So, when we talk with services managers and they have these stories that, agents are touching UI actions that they shouldn't have, I ask them, so why do you have that enabled? I don't know, it was there. Turn things off. That's not required to be in there if you're not going to use it. It also allows you to be cognizant around your end-to-end journey mapping, right? And what things need to happen over there. As you onboard, research, an inquiry for your customers, and then they're requesting for support, adding products and services, maintaining your relationship with them. That is what helps us drive the long-term loyalty. At number 5, we look at incremental value. So start small yet scalable. Enterprise software as a service implementations can get quickly overwhelming, even if done correctly. So I have many times people asking me, well, my use case is just IT. Can I just do ITSM and be done with it? Well, you can, obviously. Is that scalable? That's debatable, right? Because the pitfall is that you're gonna have to get people to learn and relearn and relearn. So you just show them something, and then you're gonna swipe it out and tell them, no, this is not how you're gonna work. You're gonna work like this. So again, all moving into the customer products like CSM and FSM that allows you to be data scalable, looking at simplicity, studying qualitative and quantifiable data. And then that allows us to look here, number 6, past the first contact. So not only the login route and the first contact resolution, but the reality is that the customer value chain, we have this concept, which is if we truly have the whole company being at the service of the customer, then that means that we have to go above and beyond the desk that is on the phone, the remote desk. It has to do with everyone that is client facing, inclusive of, again, the people at the front desk on the hotel, or the nurse that is taking care of the triage at the hospital, right? Or in public sector, the person that is on the agency receiving new cases for, I don't know, SNAP benefits. Those are all more than the first call center, right? Contact. And so if you go to a bank, right, you do have an officer there. That's not the same person on the phone. Out of the box, all of this can be mapped out. And we want to think about those solutions that sometimes people do, right? That they try to customize because, it doesn't feel native. So eventually you will start realize that there's many more limitations as you customize. You won't be able to see real-time operational health. What is the effect for your customers, right? What is the personalization per customer you should be doing? And this is where we bring service management best practices to. So the only product that ServiceNow has in order to democratize service management practices. So when I have a lot of stuff happening and I need service restoration and a lot of things are down, you might want to have an incident for that. But incident does not equal break fix. That's a different philosophy now. It is not, oh, I cannot access a building, or I need a credit card. That's a request, right? And the other one is an incident. No, you can stay at another level, and I have another one to explain that. But what we're saying is that if you want to do root cause analysis for anything on your company outside of IT, then you have problem management that you can relate to a case, and that is how we infuse those practices, right? We can expand it above and beyond technical teams. We also look at things like integrating some of those IT relevant portions that make sense to manage a service. And so when we get this right, we can move past merely just keeping the lights on, right? And instead elevating the service and getting back on doing better UX and CX. So there's less firefighting, more enablement. And so the next portion, and by the way, that's something that CRM systems don't do, but the next portion is that you want to then map those personas and re-engineer that process. So that is one of the biggest pitfalls I can tell you that I've seen on many, many implementations, which is this never gets done. We just jump past this because we needed to get out of a CRM system quickly, or we always work on Sharewell, and so I'm gonna keep working the same way, the same process I had in Sharewell, but now on CSM. And obviously, we never evolve. We are still using the same as for less mentality. So as part of any transformation, you need to translate features to business value and resync those with processes and people. People retraining them, doing organizational change management, processes, looking at how they should be re-engineered, how they should be interacting. Maybe not all the features apply, right? Challenge the process. Maybe we have to look at being creative and leverage other frameworks like design thinking and agile. And this is where we bring things like persona mapping. Who are your typical personas? If you don't have a process, let's do mind mapping, and we can define that process. And from there, we will basically create your visuals. We're gonna create your step-by-step process guidance, so we know what that framework looks like, right? It's about embracing your complexity. It's not just avoiding it, right? Because it's still gonna be there. So again, skipping this step has costed companies millions of dollars in not only continuous ad hoc fixes, but also, which is not iterations, but also development time, customization, re-engineering of the platform, changing the purpose of features, and making them non-upgradable and difficult to maintain. And sometimes I would say even affecting your licensing. Keep it in the back of your head that, you know, you have to allow complexity to exist, right? And that's another UX law. We're almost at the final one, which is the potential of case. We want to look at having the flexibility of keeping simplicity for your customers, yet allowing ESM, enterprise service management, right? Complexity of your operations, your customer operations to exist. And so case is basically your front end of your company, where you have all the stuff happening on the back. And so remember that part of a great overall experience is keeping you informed to the resolution process without over communicating how internally complex you are. So look at those UX laws, right? Those two speak to that. We also have in ServiceNow something beautiful called case types, which is phenomenal because you can map all types of fields, states, rules, visibility rules, SLAs, even call items, even playbooks, like what you have over there on that example that says create new onboarding case. That allows the middle office or back office, so basically outside of the contact center, cross the departmental collaboration happening within a single record. It could be through tasks that are related to that. It could be through other records that could be related to that. For example, someone on the field being sent through a work order, all within a case. They're all related, and they allow that to exist. I see this being used in a lot of companies where you might have a business unit working in a certain way, where they have different states on the case. Maybe they need awaiting information. They might need in progress or billing or something like that, right? Because there's a step for that. That's totally fine. You don't need to do data separation or segregation, right? You don't need to do data kerning for any of this. This is out of the box. This is just a case type that allows people to just have access to the right resources at the right time. When you don't leverage, by the way, cases, they become a hindrance. They become an empty shell, right? And so if you do that, that's another pitfall, because then you're never leveraging its real potential. So for example, if you have an incident from the ITSM world with a case, now you're gathering all the information up front. And then maybe you want to have a major incident, because you have an outage happening. But with simplifying all of this through a case, not only people don't care if it's an incident, change, or problem, because they truly don't, going back to the rule number one, but also at the same time, you are allowing the workflow to gather all the info, triage it, make sure that it makes sense, make sure that maybe from there you have different records. You have, again, a landing pad. Think about the possibilities, right? Is that you can synchronize several records while visualizing those guided process flows. So any process can be automated easily this way. This is no code, low code. I'm not a developer, and I can create playbooks. So it allows, again, a single system of action, talking to different systems of engagement and of record through a single graphical, as you can see here, of a playbook. And then the last one is establish a governance entity. This one, companies of all sizes, of all types, have had this very big pitfall. So what happens if there's no governance, right? Or how to manage the changes you're executing, how people are getting trained, how business units are evolving. Just don't assume because you put a tool in front of them, they're just gonna understand it and do it. Like it says over there, right? If there's no governance, there's no consistency, which then it allows people to start distrusting the system. They won't use it. You won't get the user buy-in. So there is no governance, right? If you, for example, have business unit asking ad hoc on different ways of thinking, there's no policies. If there's not, this is what excellence looks like. So we have those two tools over there, the Center of Excellence and Innovation, that allows for product team-based structures to exist, that allow that chaos to not exist. You don't want your developers bumping heads all the time. You must enable a single organization that defines what excellence and innovation looks like. That is, leveraging all of that from a single decision maker perspective. Um, and we want data, right, from internal and external users and from all types. But we have to learn how to use the data, who logistically owns those initiatives, and what decisions and insights are taking priority. So then you can actually leverage it, right? So you can actually harness it. As you add more functionality, data, and processes, it will become obvious that this is an essential entity for the existence of your instance. All right. So we saw the 10 pitfalls. We saw what those are trying to resolve, how those all speak to the same tune on a single system of action, where you bring all your databases to simplify, to innovate, and provide a great experience, all in the service of the customer value chain. And like I said, the only way to achieve this is by bringing this up, customer and industry workflows. Those are basically the leading products over there, CSM and FSM. Again, more than being external for contact-centric technology or external ITSM, this is way more than that. We're looking at excellent functionalities, right, that are used on many industries, inclusive of looking at financial service operations, telecom, MSPs, public sector. What all of these industry solutions are in simple words, CSM extended, contextualized with new vocabulary, with new tables that are more, for example, in healthcare, you don't call your people consumers, you call them patients. In public sector, again, you call them constituents, right? And so on. So they allow for you to translate that, be more contextual, out of the box, much more an easy implementation. On education, that's phenomenal because it allows you to map your campuses, again, all out of the box. The security, the reliability, the customer experience, the personalization, they're all in there. These are things that you cannot achieve on just staying on the ITSM portion. CSM does include ITSM though, as I said, because it enables ESM. You also are looking at, again, allowing self-service to exist and model organizations and complexity while providing proactive services connected to your environment. You have a service-aware install base. What that means is that now you are able to know if something goes down on the IT portion, how is that going to truly affect my customer install base? That is what that is. So the best practice in there is start with industry workflows, customer workflows. Do not start from the inside, which is creator workflows. This is not a scalable or starting from ITSM. You might have to have some re-engineering done. That's fine, but it's going to cost you, some time, some resources. And these are some of the typical use cases we see ServiceNow being used on this arena, from financial services to communications, all these things, from healthcare, patient support, education, again, connected campuses, admissions, grants, campus asset management, insurance, retail. And what's behind that, right, in terms of growth is customer experience, right? What's behind that is CSM and FSM and order management, which is an add-on you could always do if you're trying to connect with your ERP systems. So this allows the entire platform, as you can see, to at the end of the day build this, right? Like we said, transparency, connecting front, middle, and back offices, improving processes, assigning them through analytics, automation, and AI. We're looking at being secure, compliant, and traceable. We're looking at automating, right? Making better time to value and decisions. And this allows you to basically end up building the control tower for your digital transformation. So CSM, if you think about it, if this was a house, this is the foundational piece. This is the blueprint. This is where you build the walls. And then, you could have SPM, right? You want to manage projects. Well, now it's just another room, right? But it's all connected to the same reusable data model. And that's the value. Now, you might ask what all of this means for me and city of you, right? So in SNS, how we see this is that we have created a framework to get you started because this could be very complex and it could be a lot. That framework is all about understanding when you have a supply and you have a need, right? And so we have this mapping of how we first look at the customer to uncover impacts and needs, define what value looks like, look at a strategy, aspiration, and purpose, aligning that with getting your personas, your humans, behaviors changing, being engaged while guiding them to make the process efficient and relevant, and then technology becoming just an enabler. If we do the opposite of this, if we start just with a tool implementation, then the process is forced and it's never contextualized. It doesn't make sense to your business or your use cases. Obviously, you don't get people's buy-ins because you never talk to them. We never listen to them. And then there's no strategy on this, right? It's just all being forced. And then the customer is just suffering from this. And so that is the reason SNS is more than a tool implementer, right? We look at people, we look at process, we looked at engineering your process, we look at then the technology and the requirements and stories that allow that technology to be contextual. We're here enabling you, teaching you how to fish, right? A lot of that is, you know, mixing those technology, people, and process is giving you the vision, right, of what that looks like, while also providing you with the plan, the roadmap of how to achieve this. And it is an evolution, right? It's moving from CRM systems that were focused on a call center or help desk, where the metrics are get the phone call quickly, ready, average handle time, average speed of answer, versus going into a CSM system where you're more focused on resolving and maturing, and finally looking at being customer centric and having those experiences built out. So in one, you're just serving what has been asked, right? You're just responding. The second one, you're enabling, providing self-service, and then the third one, you're preempting that the service is being given, right? That you're serving the need before it's even asked fully. So at the end of the day, that is what we created, CXM. It is our best-in-class, flexible, and scalable approach to address those demands using ESM, using CX, and the CSM application. And at the end of the day, we want to again provide that visionary foundation that is strong for any type of workflow you have, to go beyond the contact center. And again, look at service management, look at all those systems of record talking on a single system of action. We also want to map your products and services to bring them into a personalized experience and making it efficient. We want to make sure that your operations are low cost. So you have automation happening, yet people don't feel the hindrance of that when you have an automated IVR that is just pushing people to never talk to a human. So that is the balance of that. And our secret sauce to achieve that, as you know, is looking at CX, right? And what does customer perception mean? Because perception becomes reality. So these are the four areas we look at: is how they contact, how your fulfillers, your employees allow that to exist, how your processes are all managed through being service oriented instead of just being technology oriented, and providing a great resolution. All of these are what, in our point of view, build up CX. So yes, you want your omni-channel, you want your innovation and contact center, but you also want, disconnected in context. You also want to have productive fulfillers, automation of processes, consistency. You also want to allow visibility and end-to-end workflows to exist while allowing resolution to be more than resolving at a tier one, but even at a tier zero before it even happens. Communicating proactively and predictably. And all of these, the best way how we go even more tactical about it is looking, first of all, at analyzing your customer needs, their processes, their data that they need, see how mature your organization is, empathize, right? To do an empathy mapping, then personalize this through designing specific experiences for the type of the user that is logged in. Not every customer has the same entitlements, the same products that you sold. The portal, the knowledge, all of that should be in service of that. And then how can you allow for iterations after that? And that is, this will be here the child that I created for allowing this to exist. This is first of all looking how people work, right? How we are discovering as a team how uh, people are actually using the tools, and how we can find essences through assessments and interviews. And we have an awesome team over there, innovation team, where at the end of the day they'll give you a roadmap, and that roadmap will give you the first steps to basically say, we're going to get started with our implementation. But we even touched the tool, which is here on Design and Develop. We look at ideating. How can we simplify that work and be your process realigned to not only best practice, but also to your needs and the needs of your customers, because now you have the data to make those decisions. After that, we provide that actual implementation that is contextual, is much more nimble. We are leveraging the best out of the box, and then turning the things you don't need. And then that allows you to test and repeat it. And it's an ever growing cycle with the governance at the center, right? This is how we move from SLAs to experience-based level agreements, XLAs. So it is that at the end of the day, CXM is just a result of a lot of other things that we're doing before you actually touch the tool. We're looking at first doing your maturity assessment that is CX-centric, aligning the enterprise, vertically getting your processes integrated and re-engineered, and then you will find out that you have a personalized value from that. So it is the CX framework. It is there to exist, to be flexible, by the way, to allow that best practice and how we approach it specifically in your industry and context. And finally, allowing these four things to happen, which is a transformation effort. That's the reality. It's you're looking at those focus areas we talked about. Again, the definition of CX, I said this since the beginning, is that no matter what touch point your customers are interacting with, they'll have a great experience. That's it. Even those that they will never ever know they exist, they will still have an effect on your customer. That's where ESM is. We allow new ways of doing business, right? We have many types of data models that allow for these type of implementations to exist and be flexible and make sense within the context of your organization. Like I said, if you're a hospital, if you are on education, you need those data models to map or digitize your people, right? They're basic. If you don't have them, then you're basically, you're not mapping your people, you're only mapping your processes. And that is like half of the story. We're also talking about obviously bringing loyalty back, increasing that customer retention through great experiences, through simplicity, through proactiveness, through personalization, through customer effort reduction, which is what we started with, full circle now, and also reducing the spend. So how can we automate and digitize all these disjointed processes, all the complexity of that maintenance, and upgrading your issues, actually eliminating your upgrade issues of your new digital platform, right? How can you allow for innovation to actually exist in there while allowing you to, basically use the best of your licensing? So those are our goals. That's what we do on customer and industry workflows. And these are some of the lessons we learned. So with that, I will open it up for Q&A, and obviously thank you for your time. So if there's any questions, I know we went a little bit fast, but we wanted to make sure we could cover everything. So
Hey, Fernando, thank you very much. That's so much there. So again, thank you for the work you've done for years now, even with ServiceNow, and kind of helping shape and develop this area and bringing us these insights. So, first question about all that was covered here. Yes, the deck will be shared, so you can go back through and read some more of the details that you might not have had time to why we went through it today. I do have some other questions we're going to get to here. And again, if you have a question, bottom right of the WebEx window, there's those three dots. You click that and hit the Q&A. Feel free to put it in there. We'll keep watching it. But let's jump into a couple of these. So the first one concerns customer service management versus IT service management. Question is, when should we implement CSM versus ITSM?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that's a great question. So I think most of the people have already implemented ITSM. It's now graduating from that. That's how I see it. But also, if you're new, right, and you never had um, an implementation on ServiceNow, I'll go back to this one. Unless you are not interested in supporting your customers, your external customers at any point, and you just want to really just support your internal employees and stay in this lane right here of technology workflows, then you can stay at ITSM if that's the plan for at least the next 3 years, 2 3 years, right? But if the next year you might be wanting to support anyone that has a need outside of IT, so even workflows that are not IT oriented. For example, and we see this all the time. I gave the example of the security badge incident. It is created that's an ITSM record that has nothing to do with ITSM. It shouldn't be in there, right? That's not that kind of workflow. So I would say you truly take a big look at ITIL definitions of what that is, right? Because most of the times I will see, even as an exception, doing only ITSM. Because at the end of the day, you're just doing another data silo, right? Because it's now just the IT tool, ServiceNow, and we don't want that, right? Because that's just adding another tool onto the mess. So maybe you can start with your IT teams, that's fine, but just build it with that scalability on the back of your head and thinking about customer workflows eventually. Yeah.
Great. And we do see some other questions still coming in. So again, if you have a question, use that Q&A box. This next one, I remember you touched on this, so maybe you can just expound a little more. What are the data models available for CXM?
Yes, that's a complex question. So there's many, right? So out of the box, you get business to business. So basically, you can support accounts, you can support any kind of enterprises, right? Even partners, resellers, basically company to company interactions. That's the basic model. That's where the tool started. The need expanded to actually support consumers. So now you can actually support individuals. You can also do B2C. So that was the second, I would say, iteration of the tool. And now I think since Quebec, if I'm not mistaken, you do have the option to do a business to employee, which is basically you can support your internal employees for their needs and in terms of, again, stuff that might be above and beyond IT, and also in the service of the customer value chain. So if you have, for example, someone say that you are a hotel, right? You're in hospitality, and you're running that hotel. Now, your employees from those hotels, from those franchises, or from a branch, if you're a bank, right, are allowed to ask for services and regarding their location, and also regarding the installed products they have. So that's the B2E data model that it's using, or you can also call it service organization data model. That's the other polished way how ServiceNow calls it. We just simplified it because everything was B2B. But yes, and then you can mix those. So there's like 7 or 8 combinations, because you could also do B2B2B, and then 2C. So you could actually have customers, your enterprise customers supporting their own consumers within your same instance, or their own employees, B2C, that will be B2B2E within their own, again, their own instance, their own portals. So all of these can exist. You can mix and match them. They can be one next to the other, and they do allow security rules. They do allow data separation to exist without having to basically reshape from scratch your entire instance as you move more and more types of users.
This next question is, how does CMDB work with CXM?
Again, a very loaded question. So that one is, thank you, Mike. So the CMDB, one of the secret sauces that we have that are exclusive to CSM is that you are able to expand the CMDB into an application, a plugin that is called install base management. So that allows you to connect basically your technical services, everything that you did on CSDM, and your business services, or what you're selling, what you're supporting, right? To your customers. So now you're able to do sold products. You're able to have tables to map your assets to customer assets, right? To what they look like internally. And you also get the possibility of allowing them to, have install-based items, which is phenomenal. It allows you to have like a group of CIs. So let's say that that group of CIs is a kitchen, right? So I can say kitchen on aisle A, B, and C. Or if you're a software company, it could be, again, the UAT instance versus the production instance versus the testing instance, right? Or development instance, I'll say. You're able to group those CIs and just easily say, well, this person that is calling has these types of products installed, and these are not installed or are not in production. So you get a lot of benefits from that. First of all, you get a personalized experience, right? Now they see knowledge articles, they see different types of catalog items, they can see different experiences on the portal per who they are and the services or products you have sold them, not just generic. And then the second thing is that it allows you for your agents or maybe your salespeople to know what are the uplift opportunities or upsell opportunities, I guess, that you or even cross-selling opportunities for your services. So that allows that, and also it allows that when things go wrong and things go down, now you're able to map out who is getting affected. That's why we keep calling a service aware install base. So that's those are the three main things that CMDB allows you to do when you connect it to CSM. I mean, it's not 100% mandatory, but again, it is our best practice. If you don't connect it, then what will happen is that you will probably have like a very generic portal. People won't be able to identify what issues they're trying to resolve, right? It's just, oh, this is just a random phone call, right? And so I'll just say you're paying too much for ServiceNow because that's not the usage.
Okay, great. Doing great on time. Got a couple more questions coming. The next one is, what are the requirements to get up and running with CXM?
I think the biggest requirement is to have a vision for enterprise service management, right? So if you, like most people, have started on ITSM, you evolve on that, you're mature in that. This is a great time to get this up and going, right? To evolve into customer workflows and make things easier for your company. It does require engineer, like we said, right? It does require to go through this integrated approach, but we believe it's worth it because now you're basically, and I would just say it, it's not a blank statement, but I would just say that most of the time ServiceNow is just they call this a combo SKU, meaning if you get ITSM, you get CSM. So most of the times you just have it in there, you're just not using it. So yeah, you gotta have that sponsorship, that vision, that desire to make things customer centric, right? If you're trying to do a very quick go live or a very short timeline, that's gonna be a little bit difficult. So for that, I will actually recommend doing a CSM jumpstart instead, not a CXM approach, right? But yeah, CXM is more comprehensive. It does require you to have data, qualitative and quantitative data from your people, from your customers. And we'll do that for you through CX maturity assessment. It also requires you to redo your processes. So if you're cognizant that you wanna mature that in that way, your enterprise to have a single system of action across all the departments, or at least prove to some departments that can be done. CXM, it's the best thing to use, especially if you're on one of those industry SKUs we talked about, like finance, healthcare, public sector, any of this that I have on the screen, retail, insurance, manufacturing, telecommunications. If you're a service provider of technology, an MSP, like CDW, we use it, and it is the best way of approaching this, so you don't have to re-engineer many times.
Right, right. All right, final question. How do you suggest initiating QA sessions with the business to review what's already built? How do you target key users?
That is a very good question. So it is a lot of, that takes a lot of there's no blank answer for that, right? It really depends on the company. Many times the first people we target is obviously, process owners, process managers, the stakeholders that own that. But then that is from an internal perspective. From an external perspective, we want to target what are your top 10% of users that always have a new request coming in, a very different request. What are your top companies you're dealing with, right? And so that's the people we bring to the table so we can discuss their needs. Oftentimes, this sounds almost obvious, right? Yeah, we should be listening to Casa, should be talking with them, the voice of the customer, voice of the business, using all of that. Yes, those surveys, that's important. But when there's a third party asking this, face to face or on a collaboration, and we see how they're looking for maybe a different goal than what you were thinking the process was there for. This is when we balance, right? The needs of the business unit, your internal business units versus your customers, and then you can make better decisions. So this crowdsourcing, it's phenomenal. It opens the eyes on the entire engagement. It allows us to do a step back and say, oh, so that's why. We see the effects of something that Gartner calls the watermelon effect, right? Which is basically, people are all green on SLAs, but red on the inside. They're unhappy, they're sad, and that allows that to exist, right? Oh, now we know. So yes, that's what I will answer. Yeah.
Wonderful. So if you, the viewer, would like to know any more about this, get in touch with your CDW account manager. They can even put you in touch with Fernando. Let's definitely have that conversation. So thank you so much for joining in with us today. And Fernando, thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you.
As we said earlier, there will be a survey that'll pop up as soon as you exit. It'll come up in your browser. If you could take just a second and tell us, how we can make these even better, we would greatly appreciate the feedback. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.